for youth and career, the first discussion of the day. And today we are talking about nurturing the reading culture. But before we get into that, remember you can interact with us on our social handles. That is at Y254 across all social media handles, and the hashtag to use is Y in the morning. So for this particular topic, nurturing the reading culture, we have David Njiru, who's an author but identifies himself as MD Njiru, but he will confirm to me on that he's an author. Karibu sana, David.
Thank you, Steph.
Okay, so how do you, what's your title?
My official name is David Njiru. But when I'm publishing or doing any speaking engagement, I go by the name MD Njiru the artist.
MD Njiru the artist.
Yeah.
Why do you feel the need to have a title? Is it for branding?
Yeah, for branding purposes, and also it explains what I do, because I carve out stories both in written and in spoken form. So that's why I identify myself as an artist.
As an okay, all right. So we want to know about the reading culture. Some people, some of us, but at least I am trying with the reading, with the developing a reading culture. But for most people, once you are done with high school or university or college, depending on the level of education you have reached, that's where your reading actually stops, because you're not studying for an exam anymore. Most people just read because there's an exam coming up. What do you think about that and the reading culture in Kenya? Yeah,
so it's because of the approach that we have towards reading. And when you are developing the reading culture, okay, I'm from Maktaba Digitari. So Maktaba Digitari, it's all about funding the reading culture. So at Maktaba Digitari, we do say that you should approach reading as working out. And when it comes to working out, there's this misconception that people have. One misconception that people have is that we work out to manage our weight, which is not the case. So you find that someone, if maybe they have achieved the target weight, they don't work out anymore. But we should work out for a healthy lifestyle. The same applies to reading. We don't read to get information, because information you can get from different sources. You can watch a video, you can listen to an audiobook and get the information. We read to exercise the mind. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body.
Okay.
So that's why we read. Getting information is a
added bonus.
Yeah.
I love that. That's quite interesting. Reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body, and we don't exercise not to just build a body or get fit. It should be something that goes on for the benefit, for good health. And the same to reading. We don't just read for information, because this was the main reason I thought was behind us reading, to get information, because we've been told knowledge is power and everything. But you've brought again the aspect of people can listen to audiobooks, so why should I read? And you've given that reading is an exercise to the mind.
Sure.
How so?
So
is it proven scientifically?
Yeah, it's proven scientifically. Although I want to go into the scientific part of it, it's proven scientifically. And also, there are articles out there that have scientifically proved that. And let me go back to exercise and nutrition. When you take blended juice, there's certain nutrients that are lost, like the fiber part. Like, it's more healthy to eat a fruit than to drink the juice. The same applies to reading. You can decide to listen to an audiobook, which is good because maybe you don't have time, maybe you are driving and you need to keep your mind engaged, but that can't substitute reading. Yeah, so reading itself, there's that part of reading that, how do I put it? There's that part of reading that is like eating a fruit. Yeah.
Okay, so reading is eating the actual fruit, not taking the juice.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah.
This is interesting, and I love how you bring out the, what do you call it? you bring in a new concept to familiarize this.
Analogy.
Yeah, analogy. The analogy is the word.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that we benefit apart from now exercising our brain? How would you tell someone, how would you convince someone to read? Because they need to, apart from they need to exercise their brain, or what benefits comes with exercising your brain?
So first I would start with the why. What's the why? You know, someone once said that when the why is strong enough, the how falls into place. So once you identify the why for reading, the how, which is how do you approach reading, how do you plan for it, it will fall into place.
So what's the why?
So the first why is that I've said that reading is an exercise. Then something else about reading. Reading is in-depth. For example, if you watch a movie, if there is a story version and if there is a movie version of a story and a book version of the same, the book there is more depth to it. So you get more depth. You get? Then another reason for reading is because, you know, sometime back during our forefathers' time, people used to run through apprenticeship, but that culture, it's normal. So nowadays we run through mentorship and such kind of stuff. So, but you find that if you want someone maybe to mentor you, they're not there always for you. But if you can pick books written by people who are doing what you are planning to do, you get that in-depth mentorship. So that's another reason for reading. Yeah, to read. Yeah. And
I've actually had many people say, but this is on novels most of the time, which will bring another question, saying that the imagination created when you read is different from watching a movie. It misses out on some of the things that you feel, or you know, the picture that you paint when you actually read. So this is actually true.
Yeah, it's very true.
All right.
And let me add something, although that's a bit off topic. I was watching a certain podcast and someone was saying that some years back, if you had a song, you didn't, the song had to be really good for it to sell. But nowadays, if you have a song, if you have a song but it's not really good, you can bring in vixens who can make the song to sell. The same applies to books. If a book is not well written, it will not sell. But for a movie can sell even if the story is not well executed. Yeah, there are other aspects to the story that can make the movie sell. But for reading, the story has to be well written. So that's why reading is more captivating. It engages the mind more. You have to imagine.
Okay. Yeah. And now this has brought me to the question on the content, because people read diverse things. So when you say you should have a good reading culture, some read comic books, some read novels, some read you know, different things, educational material, inspirational books. So what is the right material to invest yourself in reading?
Thank you. So there's no right material. So the first step starts with developing that culture. Then from there now you chant a path, you know. So you read based on, there's what we call intentional reading. You read based on what you are looking for. For example, right now I will not read any book about how to become rich.
Okay.
Or how to become wealthy. Right now, I'll read a book explaining the science behind it. How to become wealthy.
You won't read a book on how to become wealthy, but the science behind it.
The science behind it. So it depends on what level you are in your reading journey. Also, something else about reading. there's something that is called the writer's block. People know about the writer's block, whereby you can't write anymore if you are an author.
A writer, yeah.
Yeah. But also we have a reader's block, you know, whereby you can't progress in your reading. You have plateaued. The same way with working out, there's a place that reaches and your body doesn't change, regardless of how much you work out. So you have to read different genres for you to spice up your reading. So you can read today comic, then after 3 months of reading comic, you can say to switch to inspirational, then you switch to memoirs and, you know, yeah.
Okay. What would you attribute to the poor reading culture that is there?
So the poor reading culture will be attributed to the notion that we read to get information. That's why after school, be it high school, be it college, be it the university, people are like, I don't need this, I don't need to read anymore. Like, I already have the information. Maybe in school you are reading to pass the exams, and that's what has been instilled in us. So once you pass the exams and you're out of school, you feel like you don't need to read anymore.
But isn't reading to get information also a good reason to read? Because it is said that there's no end to getting knowledge. It's
not a good reason to read, because that information can be received from different sources.
Okay.
Yeah. So the primary reason for reading should be exercising the mind. So that one will keep you reading. Yeah. And
what about those who read to just, because some people say they have a problem with the fluency while speaking, especially maybe English. Yeah. So they read to get a good grounding in that area. Yeah. So is that a good reason to read?
Yeah, that's also a good reason to read. Yeah, but the reason should be deeper, because after you start getting the fluency, you may tend to be like, now I've already gotten the fluency, you tend to relax.
Okay, so yeah. I'm getting the point that any reason is fine, but the main reason should actually just be exercising your brain, and that will keep you grounded in the culture.
Yeah, and you get a deeper reason. A deeper reason that will make you continue reading even after you have achieved those short-term goals.
So is the deeper reason now exercising your brain, or is there another deeper reason?
Okay, I think a universal reason will be to exercise the mind. But now you can customize your own deeper reason. You can come up with your custom-made deeper reason.
Examples of such, because I've mentioned, improving your language, and you've said that's a good reason, but not strong enough. I've said getting information, you've said it's not a good reason. So what other reason, are there that can be deeper, for an individual?
Okay, like, for example, for me currently, I've decided to make it a way of life. So as long as I'm living, I will read.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite a deep reason to have. Yeah. So as long as you're reading, as long as you're alive, you're reading. The same way, as long as you're alive, you're eating and you're drinking, and so it's part of your life. So tell us now, how do we develop that culture for someone who doesn't love reading, who doesn't have that culture, and they want to start for one reason or another? So how do you develop that culture?
Okay, thank you. So number one, we have said you find the reason. Then after the reason, having a reason, you decide. Alexander Porter once stated that it's not getting what you want that's the hardest part. It is deciding. So that means, to paraphrase that, it means that you can get whatever you want if you decide. So most of the people who don't read, it's because they have not decided. It's not that someone is too busy or anything. It's not that they have not decided. So the first step is deciding. Once you decide, then things will fall into place. Once you decide, the how will fall into place. Then from there, you approach reading like working out. So with workout, one, you usually allocate time, usually schedule. So you schedule, Yeah, you can say to read in the morning, you can say to read in the evening.
Is there a time more suitable than another?
Okay, it goes with your, it goes with an individual, you know. Like, let me give an example with myself. I usually read from my bed. And for example, if I decide to read in the morning, I will fall asleep. Like,
yeah, because I'm thinking in the bed, you know, sleep will just come automatically.
Yeah. So I usually read at night so that when I fall asleep,
oh, it's okay.
It's up to morning. So you just look at what works for you. Then also, like working out, you start small. You start small. Like Brucey once stated that long-term consistency trumps short-term intensity. So just start small and build up. You can say to read 10 minutes a day, every day or thrice a week, but long term, for life, you know, it's a lifestyle. So start small, then build up. Then another thing also is that you should set goals. You should have reading goals. Like you can decide maybe I'll read a book a week, a book a month, you know, but they should be goals that they are manageable, that you not burn out. Also, something else, just like workout, you should make reading interesting, you know.
How do you make it interesting?
Okay, you see, when people go for workout, maybe running, maybe to the gym, they usually add music to it and all that. So if music works for you, you can say, while you are reading, you can play some smooth background music to make it more interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Then something else that I'll add, to avoid what you call leader's block, you know, the same way with the exercise. When you do the same exercise routine
daily,
daily, you plateau. So to avoid that, you also change your genre after a period of time. So if, for example, you're reading memoirs for a period of time, you change and you start reading maybe fictional books, you know. Yeah.
Okay. And when you're reading, should you like take down notes or something? Is it something that you can do while reading?
Yeah, you should. You should. Also, it also depends from which platform are you reading.
Reading from.
For example, if you're reading a PDF from your phone, you can just screenshot you can highlight the something and screenshot it. Like, I have a collection of screenshots that I review once I'm done reading. Okay. So you can write, you can screenshot, you know.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll talk about the review bits in a little while. What about the location? You've said you read in your bed, and that's fine with you. But what about, you know, I've had a lot of people reading in a calm environment, somewhere where there's, you know, the nature is green, you know, where you have some zeal. Is it a contributing factor, the location, the place you're reading? Does it enhance or boost your reading culture?
Yeah, the location is very important. Yeah, it should be some place that is conducive for reading. And also still on the location, we should focus also on the reading posture or position. Yeah.
So what should be the right posture?
There's no right posture. For example, let's say someone who spends most of their day seated, like maybe working in an office, like in this kind of setup, maybe seated like this. Yeah. It will be unfair to spend the whole day seated, then in the evening, you go to read seated, you know? Like, usually I spend most of my day seated, so that's why I read while lying down. So find something that works out for you. Find a posture that works out for you. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. And now about reviews. You do reviews apart from being an author. Yeah. Do they boost or do they attract the interest of people to read a certain book?
Yeah, they usually attract the interest. So most of the time when when we pick a book, sometimes we pick a book because we had it being mentioned by someone else. Yeah. So like I once had Les Brown, who is a motivation speaker, mention about a book called University of Success by Og Mandino. So once I had him mention that book, and I usually take Les Brown in high regard, I went and picked that book. So I also do that with my blog and my channel. I usually try and review books so that someone can go and pick that book. So the purpose of reviewing a book is to intrigue someone to go and pick that book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone is looking for a book to read, they should probably look for good reviews of a book, and then that will help in the reading because it will be something they're interested to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, they should look at reviews, and also they should ask themselves this question: where are you at this particular moment in your life? You know, we as humans are dealing with different things at different period of time. You know, so, and there is a book about almost everything. Even there is a book about how to read slowly. Not just reading, but how to read slowly. How to read slowly. Like right now, I'm reading a book called The War of Art. I think that title was borrowed from the Art of War. They interchanged the wordings. So the book is called The War of Art. So at this point, I felt that my creativity is taking a nosedive, and I needed to revive it a bit. So I picked that book based on where I am at that moment. So apart from reviews, you also look at where are you at
that particular moment.
Yeah, sure.
And what is it about the high and mighty or the wealthy with reading books, because you get them in the book clubs and giving reviews about books like you do. So what is it about that? Maybe that will be captivating for someone who doesn't love reading books.
Yeah, so we all have that aspiration to be wealthy and mighty, as you have put it. And one of the things that most of the wealthy people do is that they usually exercise, they meditate, and also they read, So it's because they know reading is an exercise to the mind, So that's why they read. Yeah, that's why they read.
So they know the secret.
The secret to reading. Okay. Something else that I would explain about reading. Once your mind is fit, once you're in the right state of mind, you can handle almost anything. Like Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, right? One of the things when you read Nelson Mandela's autobiography, you realize that he used to exercise while at prison, and also used to read a lot. So I think those two things kept him going.
Exercise of the body and exercise of the mind makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what about being in a book club? Does that help?
Yeah.
And how should you identify a book club that you to go to?
Yeah, it definitely helps because you have people to cheer you up. We are usually told that if you want to go faster, walk alone. If you want to go far, walk with people. So when you're in a book club, you have people to cheer you up. There are times it's like, let me also go back to working out. If you have a workout buddy, there are days that you'll feel like you don't want to work out, but the workout buddy will cheer you up, will hold you accountable. So the same applies with the book club.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it makes reading a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it also makes reading fun. Sure.
So how do you identify a right book club to go to?
So first you identify by people you have the same interest with. Same interest with, because you've mentioned about fun. So if you have the same interest, it will be much easier. Yeah.
And finally, before we go into the books that you have written and the current one, whose responsibility is it to ensure that you have our reading culture? Is it the parents that are supposed to nurture it when the child grows? Is it you as a person when you realize the importance of having a good reading culture? Or is it maybe the government or the society, you know, many people?
Yeah, so it's parents have a role to play. Parents have a role to play. Like in some countries like Finland, there's that culture of parents reading for the children, you know. And once the parents go for clinics, they take children to clinics and all that, they're given even books, you know, to encourage them to read to their kids and all that. So parents have a role to play. Yeah. Also, the government have a role to play, and it has played a good role because we have the Kenya National Library. I will mention something about the Kenya National Library. Like with 20 shillings, you can access the Kenya National Library and spend the whole day there reading, and you have access to free internet, you know.
Okay.
Then the biggest responsibility lies with you as a person, especially if you're an adult. It's your responsibility.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the book that you have written, and I would like to just read. Sorry, let me read the dedication and also the conclusion of it before you talk about it. The book is called A Kachumbari of Kenyan. Quite an interesting title for a book. You also tell us about this. And the dedication that he has given there is to all Kenyans. Not all books have a dedication to every Kenyan there. Having some trouble getting it just a little bit. Maybe you can tell us about the title as I look for the dedication. What inspired you, or what, you know, brought you to come to the conclusion that the title should be A Kachumbari of Kenyan?
Okay, thank you. So when I was writing this book, I was working on a different project, and I happened to listen to a podcast. That podcast is called Ikonini by Moaf and Zach. There was this guest, he's an artist, he's called DNA, Mr. Dreams. She was talking about that the problem that we have in Kenya is that our stars are politicians. Not rappers, not business personalities, not sports personalities, but politicians. And it hit me like, wait a minute. Why not write a book and celebrate sports, everybody now, and also include even the politicians? So I started writing the book. So when I started writing the book, I've mixed all those people there.
Okay.
So, and it dawned to me like, you know, with kachumbari, iko na nyanya, kitungu and everything. So this is the
kachumbari.
Yeah, the kafiri. Yeah. Then something else that hit me was that most Kenyans love smokies. Na unakulanga smokies na kachumbari.
Yeah.
So that's why the title iko na the word smokies ikiteremka, because
and we'll have it projected in on the screen. Brenda, you can have the cover page projected there, so we can see the smokies, where S represents slogans, M represents mottos, taglines, and O stands for original quotes made in, K, which is Kenya or by a Kenyan, I in each, and E every, S space. I hope you've gotten to understand it, but once you see it, you will get the concept behind it. So tell us about the Smoky.
Yeah. So basically it's a book celebrating Kenyans, and I wrote the book during the election period. And we are still in the election period because today the Supreme Court will be giving the verdict. So I wrote it at a time when I felt that I need to celebrate all Kenyans. And also rally the Kenyan spirit. You know, there's more to Kenya than politics. So
you felt the need to make sure you pass the message on that the Kenyan spirit is strong and that peace should be there, just to remind us of who we are. And that's amazing. So I'm getting that the book is, you know, a collection of slogans made by Kenyans, a collection of mottos and taglines and quotes. So why did you decide to use this?
Okay, so I can see the inspiration came from that interview that I watched when DNA said that our stars are usually politicians, not sports personalities, not business people. So that's where the inspiration came from. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have it on the screen. The producer has said it is ready. There we have it. We have the slogans, mottos, and taglines, all for original quotes made in Kenya or by a Kenyan in each and every space. So what message, for someone who has not read this, what message what is the underlying message in this whole book?
So the underlying message in this whole book is to rally the Kenyan spirit. You can see the cover page has that
Kenyan flag.
That Kenyan touch, the Kenyan flag and the Kenyan map.
All right. The Kenyan map, yes, the background image.
Yeah. So
amazing.
So it's basically to rally the Kenyan spirit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll read the dedication because it's to all Kenyans, which is us, of course. Fellow Kenyans, this book is dedicated to all Kenyans, the Kenyans who lived before us, everyone who lives in Kenya, the Kenyans outside Kenya, the Kenyans who will come after us, anyone with a trace of Kenyan in them wherever they are, any person who has ever visited Kenya, any person who will visit Kenya in the future, and any person wherever they are who has the spirit of resilience, because that is the Kenyan DNA. I love it. I love it. And just to get the conclusion, because it's also quite nice, it says, fellow Kenyans, our enemies are poverty, ignorance, and diseases. We already have resilience and have always been resilient. We are unbowed. Politics are part of us, but we shouldn't let politics breed hatred, discord, and negative ethnicity. Remember Wakoli Bifoli once said, sisi wanasiasa ni kama masietani. So kama mandago, usiweke mambo ya siasa kwa roho tafadhali. Weka kwa lungs. Hiyo ndio ukipumua tu after elections. Few inakwenda. It is time we rise na kama scouts tuwe tayari to take this nation to greater levels. Like St. Lucy School for the Blind, let us all strive for excellence. This will require us to be eagles like Othio Boys High School and not hens. Remember, Pastor Magogo said, kuzaliwa tu Kenya ni form 6. Our dreams are valid, Lupita attested, and we are not limited, Kipchoge proved. Like NYS, let us be true to self, true to country. True. Amazing. And I've seen you've used quotes from Lupita, from leaders there, just to give a conclusion to everything that you have written up there. Yeah. Okay, this is amazing. So what are you telling Kenyans today as we wait for the Supreme Court verdict being in line with, you know, the book that you have written today?
Yeah. So maybe I'll mention something about the conclusion first. So like I've mentioned St. Lucy School for the Blind, I've mentioned Othio Boys, I've mentioned the scout there, Lupita, Kipchoge, I've mentioned about Mandago. Okay. When you read the book, you'll be able to appreciate the conclusion. So once you read the book, you'll be able to appreciate the conclusion. The book is informative, educative, hilarious, and all that. So the message that I have for Kenyans as we wait for the Supreme Court verdict is that no matter the outcome, is that we should embrace the Kenyan spirit, you know, and we should just be peaceful. You know, our forefathers, the forefathers of this nation, they stated that our enemies are poverty, ignorance, and diseases. Yeah. those three things ndio adui yetu. Adui yetu sio mtu mwenye ako the other side. Just because somebody supported Kenya Kwanza ama mwingine alisupport Azimio, sio adui yako. Adui yako ni poverty, ignorance and disease.
Okay.
Yeah, so we should embrace peace.
Just one thing before we come to a close. There's something that you mentioned in one of your vlogs, and you quoted Robert Kiyosaki, and he said, the focus is not on best written books, but on best selling books.
Yeah.
Elaborate on this.
So you can have a well-written book, but if the book is not out there, you know, nobody will know about the book. So the focus is on the selling part. You can have great products, but if the products are not sold, you know, even the company will collapse. So the focus is usually on sales.
Sale.
Yeah.
Okay, so for someone, when you're buying a book, should you look for the best-selling books, or should you just look for a book that looks captivating enough for your interest?
So you'll know a book is captivating because it's out there.
Oh.
Yeah, you know that
been sold
the book.
out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. What is your final word as we come to a close, and where can people get you on your social handles, and for those who want to purchase your book, this is your camera.
Okay. So thank you very much, Steph, and thank you to our viewers. So my social handles are Maktaba Digitali across all social media platforms. And this book is on Amazon. You can buy it from Amazon. Also, you can reach me on WhatsApp. Yeah, I can give my number.
Sure, it's your
Okay.
number. Feel free.
Okay, so you can reach me on WhatsApp. That is 0732 274 116, and I can direct you on how you get the book. Steph, maybe I can add something?
Sure.
Okay. So once I was writing this book gave birth to twin books. Yeah. You see, in each and every space. So that part of every space, I sampled messages from Kenyans from across all spaces. And at one point, I had to go to Langata Cemetery, you know, to correct the epitaphs.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that was an afterthought. I was like, should I really do this? But
Yeah.
I was like, okay, they're also Kenyans. Yeah, those people that are, they're also Kenyans, or they are buried in Kenya. So let me go and correct the epitaphs. So I corrected the epitaphs. So the first time I corrected, I went with 4 foolscaps and nikaandika hizo vitu. Then creativity took a life of its own, and I realized that it's not only a segment in the book, it can be a book on its own. So nikabuy even an A4 book, 200 pages, nikaandika hizo epitaphs zote, na ikaleta two more books. So from this book, we have 2 more books.
Okay, which ones?
The book, we have Feeding from the Cemetery, and you have Feeding from the Cemetery, Bible-based. Because those epitaphs zilikuwa mingi, nikaona they fall under 2 categories. Some are scripture-based, others are just ordinary epitaphs. You know? So nika divide into 2. Then something else, maybe the title sounds a bit spooky, Feeding from the Cemetery.
Yeah, you know, Feeding from the Cemetery.
Yeah.
It sounds, you know,
Yeah.
a bit spooky, as you have said, yeah?
Yeah. So, even when you go online, utapata articles written about, like, you know, people should not be buried, ni waste of public land,
Yeah.
people should just be cremated and all that. And I was like, why not prove the naysayers wrong? You know, the cemetery actually can feed us
How?
through the messages that are written on the epitaph. Like one cemetery that I visited, like one grave that I visited, at that time when I was visiting that place, you know, we were still living. Na sometimes we have worries. Nakumbuka nienda grave moja iko imeandikwa aje, why worry about the hills when you have mountains to climb? You know, and it talked to me, you know. So I was like, okay, this is a powerful message. So that Feeding from the Cemetery, the first book, the proceeds from that book will go to a feeding program. I'm not even pick a cent from the book. Ni kama pay, with pay, it's deducted from the source.
Yeah.
Sindio?
So the proceeds go to a feeding program.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's feeding from the cemetery.
Oh, feeding from, okay. So
Yeah.
you are doing it you are manifesting it, or you are literally doing that which you've written, feeding from the cemetery.
Yeah. Yeah, and only the viewer can give the power to that idea. If someone doesn't buy that book, will not be able to feed from the cemetery. But if someone buys that book, nitapeana details on how they can send money to the feeding program directly. So you'll feed the message, you'll feed from the message, and also you'll feed you'll feed a kid from the cemetery. Okay. Also, there's the scripture-based Bible, the scripture-based book. The message, the proceeds, 100% of the proceeds will go to BTL, that is Bible Translation and Literacy. But BTL is doing an amazing work to translate the Bible into our native local languages. So once you purchase that book, the proceeds, they go directly. Hata when unatuma kwa BTL, when I verify the payment, I send the book to you. So once you pay to BTL, naona, alafu sasa BTL wa translate, they continue translating the Bible into the local languages. Unaona tumefeed from the cemetery.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is quite the concept that you have come up with.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to tell people, or maybe they can get that when they get to your socials? Yeah,
so once you WhatsApp me on 0732 274 116, I'll give you the payment
all
details.
The details. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you very much for coming on board and sharing with us your knowledge in this area on the reading culture.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That has been David Njiru, who's an author, talking to us about nurturing the reading culture on youth and career. So we're going to take a short break after this, and then Brand Sakwa will be back with MCM. So don't go too far. The hashtag is still Y in the morning. See you on the other side.